This regular board meeting of the Socorro ISD Board of Trustees will come to order. The date is Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. The time is 6:01. I know that there are some folks who are probably stuck in traffic, but in respect of everybody's time who is here to see their students and the celebration at the very beginning, we're going to go ahead and get started because we do have a quorum. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. One of our outstanding students from Loma Verde Elementary will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Fifth grader Tracy Kovac loves to try new things. Her willingness to step out of her comfort zone and try new experiences has helped to build her confidence. This year, Tracy joined the school's Destination Imagination team, which won the Regional Engineering Challenge and went on to compete at Texas DI's Lone Star Finals. She is also excited to participate in the upcoming UIL's Music Memory Contest this month. Tracy has developed a keen interest in science and was excited to see the 2024 eclipse. Her dream job is to be a singer or work at NASA. Outside school, Tracy plays soccer and takes karate lessons. She is a proud member of the Girl Scouts. Although she will miss Loma Verde, Tracy is excited to start at John Drugan School next fall, where she plans to explore new opportunities in choir, theater, and orchestra. We wish you all the best, Tracy. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tracy?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Let's give Tracy a round of applause, please. We'll continue with Acting Superintendent's comments. Mr. Vasquez.
Good evening, President Nahara, members of the board. I just want to first begin by thanking the Board of Trustees for this opportunity to serve as the acting superintendent. I am truly honored to have been selected for this role. I'm proud to serve Team SISD during this transition, and my focus will be on helping the district progress forward, making the necessary adjustments, and supporting our team in every possible way. I look forward to working alongside Team SISD staff and the Socorro community to put our district on the right path and lead our employees and students to continued success. A couple of other notes, lots going on in the district. We have, our registration is open for new and returning students. Please make sure, parents, you visit our website for additional information. I started visiting campuses this week. I've done a total of 13 as of last Friday, and I'm just grateful to personally speak with all the faculty and staff at all of our schools. I'm grateful to have been welcomed by the community, by the schools and the principals and teachers out there, and we've had some great conversations. I truly appreciate the engagement, the questions, and the honest feedback that I'm receiving from teachers and staff. Just a couple of upcoming events. I want to remind the community we have our volunteer recognition that's going to be held on Friday, April 19th at 11 o'clock at the Region 19 Head Start Center on Chito Samaniego. We also have our SISD Night at the Chihuahuas coming up on Friday, April 19th at Southwest University Park. I'm also glad to announce that our highly decorated America's High School wrestler, Erica Cobos, will be throwing out the first pitch that evening. Administrative Professionals Day is next week, April 24th. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our secretaries, administrative assistants, and all of the professionals that are vital to our district's day-to-day functions. Partners in Education Recognition is taking place next Thursday, April 25th at the Starlight Event Center. The Military Summer Splash is going to be held on Saturday, May 4th at the SISD Aquatic Center. There will be AM and PM sessions. Please visit our website for more details. And finally, on May 10th, we're going to be holding our Teacher of the Year Gala at the Convention Center. We look forward to honoring all of our special teachers that evening. This concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. All right, continuing, we have board honors. Mr. Escobar, please.
Good evening, President Nakana, members of the board, and Acting Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. My name is Daniel Escobar, Chief Communications Officer for the district, and it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's recognitions. If you will all please step down to receive our honorees. Our first recognition will honor a talented young artist from America's High School for her incredible artwork featured in the 8th Annual National Art Honor Society and National Junior Honor Art Society juried exhibition. This online exhibition showcases the works of student artists who are members of the NAHS and JHS programs. Among a record-breaking total of over 2,700 submissions, her artwork was one of only 124 selected for display. Her work of art will be exhibited virtually on the National Art Education Association's website until August 31st. Unfortunately, our student, Alexandra Yanes, was unable to join us. Representing her here tonight is her teacher, Jerusha Lang Cholka. Right in the center. If we're going to have you hold up. Perfect. You keep smiling, looking right ahead. Congratulations once again. Next, we will honor an SISD high school student for being awarded a prestigious 2024 Dell Scholarship. The Michael and Susan Dell Foundation oversees the Dell Scholars Initiative, which awards students with a $20,000 scholarship as well as non-monetary assistance to help them overcome academic obstacles, enhance financial literacy, and navigate personal circumstances that may impact their college experience. This Pebble Hills High School Spartan is one of only 500 students across the nation to receive this honor. Congratulations to Delani Gutierrez on this amazing accomplishment. Congratulations once again. Our next recognition honors a low brass ensemble that was selected to participate in the 2024 Texas Music Educators Association Convention in San Antonio. This is a tremendous honor as they were chosen among a very select group of musicians to showcase their talents at the annual conference. This ensemble had the opportunity to demonstrate the musical achievements they have accomplished in SISD to hundreds of TMEA members. Congratulations to the Pebble Hills High School Low Brass Ensemble. Manuel Axel Chaires Solano. Emily Denise Keller. Gabrielle Corey. Ethan Daniel Martinez. Nayela Angelica Mendoza. Adrian Montoya. Christopher William Price. Wilfredo Pumarejo. Amaya Michelle Solis, Jadeila Torres. Their directors, Maria Carvajal, Cecil Crabtree, and Maximo Sierra. If we can have you all back to the front for a photo. And just a quick note that all of the photos taken by our district photographer, Mr. Largo, are posted on our district website. There is a camera icon on the bottom right-hand corner of the webpage that'll take you to SmugMug, and these photos are posted and available for free high-resolution download. Congratulations once again. Our next recognition is for a high school journalism team that won the 2024 Gold Crown Award for their yearbook from the Columbia Scholastic Press Association. El Dorado High School's Legend Yearbook, titled Como Cuando, received the highest recognition given by the CSPA for overall excellence in a student print or digital medium. The team also has been awarded the prestigious NSPA Pacemaker Award for the same publication, which is the highest honor in scholastic journalism. Congratulations to the El Dorado High School's talented journalism students and their teachers. Jorge Aguirre, Diego Cruz Castruita, Mia Jade Colmenero, Damaris Estrada, Mirabel Estrada, James Gibson, Valerie Hammonds, Yolani Martinez, Mark Reyes, Jaya Thomas, and their instructor, Vanessa Martinez. If we can have you back to the front, please. All right, keep smiling, keep smiling. Congratulations once again. We will now recognize SISD Destination Imagination teams that showcase their technical skills, creativity, and talents at the DI Lone Star Finals last weekend in Arlington, Texas. We are pleased to announce that Cactus Trails Elementary, Captain Walter E. Clark Middle School, and Montwood High School's engineering team have qualified for the DI Global Finals that will take place in May in Kansas City, Missouri. Absolutely. Round of applause. Destination Imagination is a global organization that promotes creative problem-solving skills among students to prepare them for college and career readiness. Students from kindergarten to high school participate in categories such as engineering, improvisation, science, fine arts, and service learning. Congratulations to all the talented Destination Imagination teams that participated in the finals. We will recognize the teams by school level, and we will begin with elementary level teams. First, Bill Seibert School. Ari Gonzalez. Danitza Gonzalez. Hector Gonzalez. Paola Lesbron. Ilea Mercado. And their team manager, Darlene Davis Lopez. Our next team is from Cactus Trails Elementary, Jimena Ortiz, Ava Robinson, Aubrey Segura, their team manager, Stacy Robinson. Our next team is from Dr. Sue A. Shook Elementary, Caitlin Bailey, Camden Sina, Amber Moreno, Oliver Vela, Luisa Verdin, Sylvia Lara is our team manager. From Loma Verde Elementary, Celeste Deck, Evan Deck, Tracy Kovac, and team managers Marisol Mijares. Students, teachers, if we can please have you to the front for a photo. Will always be, yeah. Should we swap the two, maybe? Yeah, look right at Mr. Larvel, right here in the middle. All right, keep smiling, keep smiling. Keep smiling, keep the certificates up. There you go. Thank you. Congratulations once again. We will continue with our middle school teams. From Captain Walter E. Clark Middle School, Eduardo Duran, Aubrey Arribas, Jaden Gutierrez, Nadine Mercado, Sebastian Nunez, Edgar Romero, and team manager Catherine Gutierrez. From Desert Wind School, Logan Hernandez, Carla Montoya, Miguel Olivares, Abigail Rosales, team managers Sergio Cardenas and Susana Hernandez. From Herschel Antoine Middle, Natalie Hernandez, and team manager Vanessa Payan. If we can have you all back to the front for a photo, please. All right, certificates up and looking at Mr. Largo. Keep smiling, keep smiling. Congratulations once again. We continue next with our high school teams. From America's High School, Alejandra Reyes. And team manager, Virginia Gardea. From Mission Early College High School, Andrea Moreno Granados. Jaslyn Ricarte. Vera Smith. Monica Vasquez. Alisan Amaya. Nicole Amaya, Alyssa Ayala, Alexa Martinez. Team managers are Antonio Casruita and Concepcion Ordóñez. From Montwood High School, Andres Valle, Sofia Valles, Oscar Wayne. Also from Montwood High School, Christian Favela, Antonio Landeros, Marisa Ortega, Ava Smith, and team manager Rodolfo Hernandez. If we can have you all back to the front for a photo, please. Keep smiling. Almost there, almost there. Keep smiling. Congratulations once again. Our next recognitions are for 4 outstanding championship varsity soccer teams. We begin with Eastlake High School varsity girls soccer team for winning the 1-6A district championship and a 6A by-district championship. The team, absolutely. The team's remarkable season concluded with an overall record of 18-7-1 and a district record of 14-2. Congratulations, Falcons. Alyssa Alba, Leilani Bernal, Hannah Kane, Dayanara Chason, Julia Childress, Ana Julia Cortez, Gianni Diaz, Nicole Flaco, Melanie Flores, Danica Guzman, Kira Hernandez, Melinda Lozano, Alondra Munoz, Naima Calvo, Jalen Ramirez, Mia Robles, Annalise Sanchez, Karina Trujillo, Nelene Vega, Haley Velasquez, Giselle Villa. Assistant coaches Larry Durbin, Carla Arellano, Gibby Widner, and they're led by head coach Noe Velarde. If we can have you all back to the front, please, for a photo. All right, everybody looking at Mr. Largo. Keep smiling, keep smiling. Still a few more. Let's keep the certificates up. certificates up. A few more pictures, I think. All right, congratulations once again. Next, we recognize Montwood High School varsity boys soccer team for winning 6A by district and area championships. The team had a great season, finishing with an overall record of 18-9-1. Congratulations to the Rams. Angel Acero, Diego Aguilar, John J. Arellanes, Jesus Armenta, Carlos Carrillo, Nicholas Estrada, Alexis Galarza, Eric Garcia, Cesar Gonzalez, Javier Gonzalez, Alejandro Lopez, Amir Lopez, Jacob Lopez, Isaiah Morales, Lalu Morales, Luis Miranda, Eric Ramirez, Eduardo Uroa, Viago Uroa, Daniel Velasquez, assistant coaches Jorge Adame, Chris Maldonado, and they're led by head coach Carlos Canales. Too many names.
I know. It's like name 600 right now with only 300 to go.
100 and something. My gosh.
Yeah, you were real smooth.
That's that whole saying it without reading it.
No, yeah, you got John J out.
Congratulations once again. Yes. Our next recognition is for the Pebble Hills High School varsity boys soccer team. They had an outstanding season and won 6A by district, area, and regional quarterfinal championships. Additionally, head coach Mario Garcia was also named 1-6A Coach of the Year. The team ended the season with an impressive overall record of 22-4 and a district record of 15-3. Congratulations, Spartans. Jonathan Cardenas, Andrew De Leon, Tristan Edwards, Sebastian Gomez, Leonardo Granados, Peyton Hart, Diego Lasso, Brian Lira, Matthias Loya, Oziel Lozano, Alan Martinez, Michael Malachi, Ethan Mendez, Enrique Morales, Jovan Moreno, Adrian Perez, Antonio Robles, Carlos Rodriguez, Jair Terrazas, Alexis Torres, Ilan Valdez, Daniel Vasquez, Fernando Vega, assistant coaches Oscar Diaz, Carlos Lopez, and head coach Mario Garcia. If we can have you back to the front, please, for a photo. Congratulations once again. Next, we recognize the Eastlake High School varsity boys soccer team for their outstanding performance this season. They have won their fourth consecutive 1-6A district championship, which marks their 10th district championship in the last 12 years of varsity play. In addition, the team won by district, area, and regional quarterfinal championships. The team ended the season with an impressive overall record of 19-8-1 and a district record of 14-2. Congratulations, Falcons. Alexis Ajinaga, Gabriel Aguirre, Michael Ayala, Gael Barragan, Hugo Chavez, Sergio Chavez, Gael Faudoa, Diego Floriano, Jesus Granados, Anthony Promise Gonzalez, Noah Hernandez, Nicolás Irigoyen, Daniel Jaramillo, Eric Macias, Chris Mendez, Dylan Monsiváis, Octavio Ornelas, Manuel Ortiz, Diego Roman, Brian Salas, Brandon Salas, Brian Salas, Manuel Tarango, Jared Venegas, assistant coaches Larry Durbin, Alfonso Vasquez, Noe Velarde, and they're led by head coach Gibby Widner. Just a quick note as they're gathering here, Coach Velarde also was named 1-6A Girls Coach of the Year. So congratulations, Coach, on that as well. If we can have you all back to the front for a photo, please. Keep smiling, keep smiling. Congratulations once again. For our special presentation this evening, we will honor the Pebble Hills High School counseling program for their exceptional achievement of being named a recognized ASCA Model Program, or RAMP, by the American School Counselor Association. This designation is given to schools that have demonstrated a strong commitment to providing exemplary school counseling programs that align with the criteria in the ASCA National Model. Congratulations to these dedicated counselors for their well-deserved recognition. Gustavo Alvarado, Patricia Anchondo Nash, Tomas Carranza, Zulema Dickerson, Alma Dominguez Barrios, Corin Lara, Manuel Pacias, Angelica Quintana, Diana Ronquillo, and Aida Vasquez. If we can have you back to the front for a photo, please. Congratulations once again. And that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Okay. Continuing with our agenda, Board of Trustee business. Item 6A, accept terms of supplemental duty agreement between district and James Vasquez to serve as acting superintendent. Mr. Blanco.
Thank you, Board President Nahara, members of the board, and Mr. Vasquez. At the last special meeting, the board agreed to appoint Mr. Vasquez as acting superintendent. Welcome. At the conclusion of that meeting, Mr. Nahara and I met with Mr. Vasquez and laid out the terms upon which the board discussed in closed session that night to appoint him as the acting superintendent for the district. Mr. Vasquez agreed to those terms. We had it set as an agenda item for this meeting in case there was some negotiation back and forth. There was not. The additional amount, just so the board is aware, that was approved is an additional duty stipend in the amount of $199.12, so $199.12 per day on a 226-day contract period. Additionally, Mr. Vasquez agreed to include a statement in the supplemental duty agreement that he is not going to pursue the appointment or employment as the regular superintendent for the district. That's something that the board had asked about as well. So there's no action that's required. I just wanted to update the board because the terms of what you discussed before, and Mr. Vasquez has accepted them. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No questions.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. All right. B, consider approval of proclamation for National School Nurse Day, May 8th, 2024. Ms. Madrid.
Okay. Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, and acting superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. This evening, our Health Services Department is requesting your approval for the 2024 School Nurse Proclamation. School Nurse Day will be May the 8th. Tonight, we have two siblings from Socorro High School who will do the honor of reading the School Nurse Proclamation. Ms. Yolanda Tarango will make the introductions of brother and sister.
Alvaro Avila is currently a sophomore at Socorro High School. He's enrolled in honor classes and is ranked in the top 10% of his class. He's also part of the JV track team and part of the swim team. in which he has been selected as captain as freshman and sophomore. As a member of the swim team, Alvaro has advanced to regional competitions both in the individual events and the relay team during his freshman and sophomore year. Samira Avila is a junior at Socorro High School. She's currently enrolled in dual credit classes and is ranked in the top 10% in her class. She's the captain of the varsity track team and the swim team. As a sophomore last year, Samira advanced to track area competition in an individual event. Meanwhile, as a freshman, sophomore, and junior, she advanced to the regional competition both as individual and relay team member in the swim team. As a sophomore last year, she made history by becoming the first Bulldog student to win the swim district championship in the past 20 years. The El Paso Times and the Socorro Independent School District newsletter included headlines, articles about her accomplishment. Samira was honored as the Ray Sanchez Memorial High School Student Athlete of the Year for the 2022-2023 school year at Socorro High School. This year, she qualified for track regionals at Arlington, Texas, where she will be participating on Friday and Saturday. The presenters of this year's School Nurse Proclamation are children of a dedicated school nurse at Ernesto Serna Fine Arts Academy, Ms. Laura Lara. With you now, Alvaro and Samira Avila.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Proclamation National School Nurse Day, May 8th, 2024. Whereas students are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And whereas families deserve to feel confident that their children will be cared for, they are at school. And whereas all students have the right to their physical and mental health needs safety met while in school setting. And whereas students today face more complex and life-threatening health problems requiring care in school. And whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and ensuring students' academic success for more than 120 years. And whereas school nurses address the home and community factors, example, social determinants that impact students' health, and whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advances the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievements of all students by serving on the front lines and providing a critical safety net for our nation's most fragile children.
And whereas school nurses acted as a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our nation's children. And whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak. And whereas school nurses are members of school-based teams, examples, school health services, 504 IEP, disaster emergency planning, providing care and coordination to address the school population. And whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for children every day. Therefore be it resolved that the National Association of School Nursing celebrates and acknowledges the accomplishments of school nurses everywhere and their efforts to meet the needs of today's students by providing and advocating for quality, student-centered care, and offers gratitude for the nation's school nurses who contribute to our local communities by supporting students to stay healthy in school, safe, and ready to learn, and keeping parents and guardians at work, not just on this National School Nurse Day, but in every opportunity throughout the year.
And with that, we ask for your approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank
Motion.
you so much.
Motion to approve made by Ms. Macias, seconded by Mr. Guerra. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you so much. All right, item C, report and announcement of board member continuing education credit hours. As required by the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 61.1J, I will announce the completed, deficient, and exceeded continuing education credits for each of our trustees. The following information is required to be reflected in the minutes of tonight's meeting and will be available for local media. Michael Nahara has completed his continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1 and Topic 2 and exceeded requirements in Topic 3. Cynthia Nahara has completed her continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1 and Topic 2 and exceeded requirements in Topic 3. Paul Guerra has completed his continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1 and Topic 2 and exceeded requirements in Topic 3. Pablo Barrera has completed his continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1 and Topic 2 and exceeded requirements in Topic 3. Ricardo Castellano has completed his continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1, Topic 2, and Topic 3. Alice Gardea has completed her continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1 and Topic 2 and exceeded requirements in Topic 3. Maribel Macias has completed her continuing education credit hour requirements in Topic 1 and Topic 2 and exceeded requirements in Topic 3. Completing the annual required continuing education is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member under State Board of Education rule. That's it. All right, and we'll continue with open forum. Each person who signed up was provided a copy of the open forum basic rules and advised when they signed up that policy BED applies to the process. Please respect the process during your presentation. A reminder that you're allowed 3 minutes. We will proceed to open forum. Our first speaker is Veronica Hernandez.
Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. My name is Veronica Hernandez, and I am the proud president of the 2,000-member Socorro American Federation of Teachers. Socorro AFT is sponsoring a major book giveaway alongside our national parent organization, the American Federation of Teachers, and First Book, to celebrate a momentous milestone of giving away over 10 million books to school children across the nation. At this event, Socorro AFT will donate yet another 40,000 books here to our district. With hearing this big event, General Motors heard and wanted to be part of it. So they stepped up to the plate and they want to provide and given us 5,000 books specifically for our STEM academies and to highlight their great work here in SISD. We cordially invite you and all of our Socorro community to join us at this literacy festival. We will have student performances, food trucks, face painting, bouncy house, book authors, actresses, and much, much more. So I hope to see each and every one of you there. And last but not least, I want to encourage you to pass item G2 on the consent agenda and sign the MOU where Socorro AFT proposes to award scholarships to students at 5 high schools in SISD. Thank you all very much.
Our next speaker, Tommy Hill.
How you guys doing? And thank you, Mr. Vasquez, for meeting with the SPED workers. That was very good, and hopefully something can come out of that. Thank you. I want to start with this. We put in for when our bus clerk 2 application trip clerk over at transportation. There was a change in this, and on the bottom they always say omitted. We sent you guys emails on this, and with this there's no HR amendment, but the education and certificate of this is primary purpose of this position is to provide clerical support of the transportation department. With no amendment and no additional pay, they added with the, HR didn't even know about it. Valid Texas commercial driver's license, class A/B with PNS endorsement to drive a bus with the same pay. So you guys need to look into it. Just plain and simple. It wasn't done correctly. It already closed, and it didn't go through HR. So how did it happen? It's interesting. Okay. We need to do a temperature climate and transportation. The morale is really bad. There. I challenge any one of you to go with me on my route at the new time that they just told me without them getting a heads up without them making any changes, what I got to do and get those kids to school on time. They're going from 1 to 1 and 1. I'm sure you guys are getting the complaints. We need to do a climate survey, and that needs to come from you. It doesn't need to come from the transportation people, that we need to express what's really going on over there. Please take that into consideration, because it's very well needed and you guys need to check into this. Now, we know what you guys have been told on electrical buses, the actuality. Well, we gotta check where they can charge those buses over there, and you guys need to go over there before you guys get answered questions and find out what the reality is. Because one thing to get the sales pitch, one thing to put on the AC, and then get the reality of what's gonna happen. Now, they said that they would not have to charge those buses in peak hours. I bet you, go check it out. You're gonna find out the reality, and you need to do that before the press starts asking the questions on what's the real issue here. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker, Mr. Alfredo Agüero.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alfredo Agüero, and I'm a community organizer in the area of special education and volunteer member with the Time Down organization. I want to clarify that my name is not Alfredo. A huevo is written by the Microsoft program that is being used for Spanish-English translation. I'm just clarifying the poor interpretation of the Microsoft program. For this reason, I'm giving my today comments in English. I want to let everybody know that a board meeting on January 17, 2024, it was agreed unanimously that the Spanish-English-English-Spanish translation will be for the entire board meeting and not just for my public comments on my comments on the agenda item, YouTube Live, no translation at all. The minutes of regular special board meeting for January 17 and January 23rd, 2024 were approved on February 21st, 2024 regular board meeting. Since that date, the board of directors has had 6 regular and special meetings, and still the translation services are not implemented. In the agenda, January 17, 2024, it was reading. Item 10, new business. Letter B, discussion and possible action to address translation services for board meetings. Presenter, Trustee Ricardo Castellano. Minutes for regular board meeting, January 17, 2024, it is reading. Translation services for board meetings. A motion was made by Ricardo Castellano, second by Pablo Barrera, to solicit a record for qualification to provide translation services. The motion carried unanimously. In the regular meeting, February 21st, 2024, consent agenda A, letter A, consistent approval of board meeting minutes. January 17, 2024, regular board meeting, to January 23rd, 2024, board meeting. Until today, still translation is not implemented for the entire meeting. It was only for my comments, and by the way, with very bad translation. I really hope that what was agreed is fulfilled, because otherwise the district will be in very serious breach of state status and federal laws, in violation to my civil rights and the rights of the community that you represent and should be helping. I want to let you know that the Special Education Director, Dr. Analia Jensen, disabled my mic in the virtual meeting on February 28, only for asking for her to give information about 3 events that take place on Socorro District. I have the proofs. 2 already carried out, and another is scheduled for May 3rd. They are promoting them without giving times or addresses for these events. She told me that it's only for parents with children in districts, and parents can call to request information. The truth is that with this kind of situation, this is why parents look for other districts where both their children and themselves are treated with respect. I want to say that the special education workshops also require simultaneous interpretation, English-Spanish, Spanish-English, to take advantage of the hour and a half that the presentation lasts. And also parents deserve complete and true information. Parents don't want to be misinformed. Parents have to learn how to advocate for their own children. Rights are taken. They are not asked for. They are taken. They are not begged for. Quoted by Jose Marti. Thank you.
Mr. Vasquez, can we look into the translation services, please?
Yes, we'll look into that. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving on with district reports. 8A, facilities report. Ms. Fierro.
Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Liliana Fierro, Director of Facilities and Construction, and I'm here to present the construction projects managed by Facilities and Construction Department. Starting with the Student Activities Complex 2, right now we are in the 80% of completion. Here are some photos of the progress of the landscape work and the iron fence installation. Also, you can see the south entrance of the Fine Arts building. Here's the displaced case at the press box and the corridor at the Fine Arts. Coaches area and the visitors area at the press box. Contractor has started the initial cleaning so we can schedule the final inspections. Here are some photos of the home and visitor side concessions. Contractor is still working on the cleaning and scheduling the inspections with the health department. And here it's a video of the progress at the site, and I hope you enjoy it. Contractor is still working on the east parking lot. And now you can see both of Sect 1 and Sect 2. Almost there. So, as I mentioned last board meeting, we are at the substantial completion date of May 23rd. Contractor will have 1 to 2 months to complete punch list, but the project will be ready for the ribbon cutting that will be scheduled in the month of August. You have any questions for Sec 2?
All right.
Okay. Moving on to maintenance in facilities building. This project is 100% schematic design phase and design development. Architect is working on the construction documents. We are at 80%. We're gonna receive the 100% construction drawings by May 17 for our review. And now this is the report that I presented last board meeting. The only, what you see will be a difference in column K. As I mentioned to you, this is, those numbers are for the projects that are already completed 100%, you will see a 0 in column K. Because those projects are already closed, paid full, so you will see that 0. The next page, you will see SAC 2 and the maintenance and facilities building as ongoing projects. So all the available funding that was in the projects that were closed were transferred to SAC 2. Also, the money that was allocated for the maintenance and facilities building was transferred to SAC 2 as well, so we can keep the progress on SAC 2 for, to pay architects, to pay contractors, and so forth. Now, you will see in maintenance and facilities building, item 15, you will see column F. That's the consulting services total cost. This is expected, but it's not final, okay? But we're not including anything for construction. Now, item 12, SAC 2, you will see a negative 874,309. That's an expected amount, estimated amount. It's not final. Again, we need to have the final numbers once the project is completed. We're gonna see some savings in the construction portion, but also in the professional design services, okay? It could be less, it could be more, but I will present that information in the next board meetings. Also, I would like to mention that we have 469,000 under interest. That amount hasn't been allocated to any project, so we have that money. As I mentioned to you, we're gonna be able to cover the cost for the 2017 SAC 2 project, okay? To consider the last project, maintenance and facilities building, that's the project that will need funding, okay? You have any questions on the report?
Okay. What did you say about the maintenance and facility building?
Yes, sir.
I didn't get the last part.
Oh, so the last, what I mentioned is that right now we don't have anything allocated for construction because the money that was in those accounts were transferred to SAC 2 to be able to complete the project. So right now we are, for SAC 2, we are 800 negative, but again, we have to wait until the project is closed. But for now, going back to maintenance, we don't have anything allocated for construction, only for design services.
So the maintenance and facility building will not get off the ground, you're saying?
That's a project that will need funding. Now, we don't have a construction cost estimate, so it could be between probably 4 to 7 million. We don't know until we have that estimate from the architect.
Any other questions?
Done.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fierro.
Moving on to the ongoing non-bond projects, we have the transportation electric bus charging stations. And we have the auxiliary gyms, package 1, 2, and 3. Package 2, I will present tonight the final credit change order and the final payment. For Monwood High School, we're working on the punch list and closeout documents. My department is working with IT department and maintenance department on the move for portables to Eastlake High School. And we are working with a mechanical engineer to assess the issue with the mechanical system at Mission Ridge. Here's the transportation electric charging stations. We are at the 75% completion. Here's some photos of the progress. We're gonna be able to complete this project by the end of June. So we don't foresee any issues. For Monwood High School parking lot, here's the band tower, finalized 100%, ready to use. And also we added some additional parking spaces to the parking lot that is with the band tower. Do you have any questions for Mangwood? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Fierro.
Thank you.
All right. Continuing then, forensic audit and TEA audit action plan. Mr. Vasquez.
Good evening, President Nahara, members of the board. Last week, we received a presentation on the results of the Weaver forensic audit. Listed within that audit were a list of recommendations to the district to address the findings. And over the past couple of weeks, the district administration and cabinet have worked on the corrective action plan, and we're here to present this to you tonight. Starting us off is our Chief Human Resources Officer, Dr. Angela Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Good evening, Board President, Mr. Nájera, Board of Trustees. So we all cabinet put together this PowerPoint presentation for you. It includes 20 recommendations, 18 recommendations, the first 18, you have a PowerPoint and the table, I assume, are directly the recommendations from the forensic audit. So you're gonna see recommendation number 1 and then our action plan, number 2 and our action plan. The last two, the 19 and 20, are TEA allegations. That's not part of the forensic audit. I wanna point it out that. So the first 18 is forensic audit, the last 2 is TEA. So out of the 18, 8 are HR. So that's why we're starting. So, and we have all my team here, so we divide all the presentation. I'm not gonna do everything by myself, but still I'm responsible to oversee the action plan. So this is the first one, and Miss Alina Stiles is gonna talk about that.
Hello, good evening, President Nájera, Mr. Vasquez, and members of the board. Selena Stiles, Director of Human Resources. Tonight I'm going to be going over, I believe it's the first 4 recommendations. I don't want to read the actual recommendation from the forensic audit, but I will go into what our action plan is for that one. So for the first one, the recommendation was, in addition to salary studies, to look into staffing, periodic staffing studies. So we will be contracting TASB every 3 years for a staffing study. And it will start for the 26-27 school year, because we just did one during the 23-24 school year. So the next cycle will be then. Approximately, it was about $48,000. So that will be an additional fee that will need to be included in our budget every 3 years. In addition to that, we do hold regular staffing meetings. We started at 2, we're up to 4 annually, just to be evaluating the ongoing staffing for the district. Correct. So that will occur on a regular basis, and it is ongoing. Okay. So for number 2, this kind of is requesting adjustments to the stipend list, and that any changes be brought to the board, redlined and identified. So as of late 2022, the compensation plan in whole is presented with the, for you all to approve the compensation plan in whole. And then any additional changes that come up through the year, we are bringing those identified. So that is ongoing, and that will be that has been our practice since 2022, and we will continue that practice. And then number 3 is about the stipends and the details of the amounts that are being paid out. So we will provide a list with information detailing the number of employees receiving stipends by the actual stipend, and we'll provide that to you at the beginning of each school year for the previous school year, because there are changes throughout the year that occur. Specifically, I'm going to use, for example, athletics. Because we pay athletics year-round, That's identified at the beginning of the year, but when a spring sport comes, we may have individuals that aren't going to do that. So we'll have to remove it and perhaps apply it to somebody else. So it would be cleaner if we did it at the beginning of each school year for the previous year, what was paid out. Okay, and that will be done annually, and that will be ongoing. Okay.
This one, the number 4, the forensic.
I'm sorry. Is it okay to ask questions as we go?
Oh, yes.
All right. Just specific to the stipend one, and just for clarity, a list I think certainly would be helpful. But in addition to a list, if we could also have like a separate schedule that details those who are receiving multiple stipends.
Okay.
Just to. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Jumping ahead. Thank you.
It's coming. So on the number 4 audit recommendation, the forensic audit is telling us to align stipend names, descriptions, and the payroll register with the compensation plan. They caught a mismatch on titles on stipends between payroll department and HR department. So the ones that we use are in the compensation plan. Those are the correct titles. For some reason in payroll, they have just different titles, but it's the same stipend. So with that one, we have audited the pay types. We work together, payroll and compensation. And so we have audited the pay types and the compensation plan to match the titles in both areas, payroll and compensation. We oversee that. We did it in a couple of days, weeks, and the compensation plan, the district pay codes had been reviewed and matched as of us today is complete. Actually, it was complete in April 12th. So that was just a quick fix and mismatch in titles. And probably someone saw in payroll some titles that assumed that were not approved or in the part of the compensation plan, but they are. It's just that it was, for some reason, using different titles. So that is done. The next is number 5, and it's the internal auditor. We'll be back.
Good evening, Board President Mr. Nakara, board members, and Acting Superintendent Mr. Velasquez. I'll be going over the forensic audit campus funds recommendations. Number 5, one of the recommendations was to increase the frequency of audits, and the other one was to potentially look into adding resources to the audit department. The audit plan is to simple change on the cash receipts that are issued by the campuses and disbursements, which is called the request to expend funds form, to include the fundraising number and the activity. This will greatly reduce the amount of time required to look at the transaction ledgers and prepare them for review. So that will result in more audits being done. The goal is to audit at least half the schools per year. If we want to change that, we can go ahead and change it, increase it. It's up to the board. Currently, I've done 13 campuses. I have 5 already done, pending review by the I go and review the reports with the principals and the secretary or business agent. That'll leave just 7 for me to get to the 25, which is half of the schools. No questions on that section? Number 6 is, it kind of relates to the action plan for number 5, or it does relate to the action plan for number 5. It says to improve the visibility of campus funds, we recommend standardizing the recording of cash receipts and disbursements, which is the request to expend funds form we use. We ask the schools again to indicate fundraising number, activity for cash receipts and disbursements. That will solve that. It'll be easy to analyze the transaction ledger and make sure everything balances. So it'll greatly reduce the amount of time reviewing all the transactions. That can be monitored by finance and myself as we wish. We just open the campus accounting program, go to the school, run a report on cash receipts or disbursements, and we can see if they're doing it. If they're not doing it correctly, we can just tell them, fundraising number, @ give me the number, comma, the activity. So, but again, it will greatly reduce the review of the transactions and allow further analyzing all the activities a lot faster. No questions? Thank you.
Good evening, President Nahara, members of the board, and Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. My name is Vicky Perez, Chief Financial Officer, and I will be discussing the travel expenses and reimbursements on the forensic audit recommendation. Recommendation number 7 states, we recommend the district review the practice of use of 6411. The reason this was brought up is because 6411 is specifically for travel, and there was a couple of vendors. He noted that there was at least a few vendors that look like contracted services because they came to the district. However, after discussing with our travel accountant as well as Mr. Kasner, we had determined that this method was actually approved by TEA. It was a TEA FASRAG, the Financial Accountability Standards Resource Guide, had given, due to COVID, that they said the registration fees for services that in services and stuff, those were going to be coded to 6411. It didn't have to be 6299. So we talked to Mr. Kasner, and he agreed that if it was a TEA FASRAG, that it should not be noted. But it was presented in the preliminary study, so we want to make sure we address that as well. So the next recommendation, number 8, number 8, was to evaluate DEE regulation in which it states that an employee traveling would need to be prepared and accepted with a PO 2 weeks in advance. And so the regulation stated 2 weeks specifically, and so that's what we have to stick to. And there was several of them that were done maybe a week before or a day in advance. And so a couple of things, we evaluated whether or not 2 weeks was too long of a time, or if it was too much time or too little. And according to the travel accountants, based on the volume of employee travel, because this is only employee travel, the amount of time that it takes to gather all the information, quotes, submit the TR for the travel request, make sure that all the paperwork is good so that we can put in the PO, 2 weeks is a sufficient amount of time. So he recommended that we change the wording from 2 weeks to as per regulation, which is our manual itself. And so that was reviewed in the April Policy Committee. We're going to take that back in the May Policy Committee again. And, since it's regulation, it does not need a board approval. Excuse me about that one. And then the next one we have are federal funds and grants. I'm going to invite Ms. Lucy Borrego.
Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. Today, we're going to address the specific concerns related to Special Education Department. We will hit all of the specifics that they had asked for. We have our awesome Director of Special Ed Compliance, and she is overseeing this, and she will go through it with you this evening.
Good evening, President Nájera, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez, and board members. I'm Melissa Olivares. I am the Director of Special Education Compliance. So as you can see in this slide, the firm suggested, asked us to conduct an external review, an external audit of special education, which I know that the board had also requested. So this is our action plan. So our action plan actually extends into previous years because in special education, audits and compliance are continuously conducted. So in January of 2022 through June of 2022, there was a TEA review of 16 random files that they selected to be reviewed. The implementers of that, of course, were Ms. Meredith Walling. She is with TEA, who was overseeing that, along with our special education staff and myself. Of that audit, that was completed in 2022 and ended in with 100% compliance. The second thing was that The SISD was selected to review our federal grant application after awarding of grant funds. That was in November of 2022, and TA sent a final report showing that they did not identify any items of noncompliance for that. The third item there is that we did have a Region 19 come in and do an informal file review with our speech language pathologists and diagnosticians. They each audited 2 files and of their own, and then that was conducted this year at the beginning of the year, July 25th, 2023. The next one is that the board, the district approved a new director of compliance of special ed position, and that was on November 14th, 2023. The next item has a few items listed under it. This is the RFQ that was requested, and it was sent out for submissions on January 12th, 2024. However, there was an addendum on March 28th because we did not receive submissions. That is still ongoing. It's pending submissions, and I believe it did close, and we will be looking at evaluating those submissions. That will include, and that did include, the items A through E, which were requested. And that also goes hand in hand with the comprehensive cyclical review that TA will be doing this coming fall in our district, including all of those items, A through G, and that will be conducted between October 24th of 2024 through December of 2024. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go over purchasing and procurement processes. On forensic audit recommendation number 10, the district was asked to revise and review CVA local, CVB local, to remove the superintendent as chair of administrative review. So we have presented that during the April policy committee meeting, and this evening you do have a copy of that policy, and I have blanks and highlights on where we need to review that. I do recommend that we have other areas that we look at since we're looking at that one policy, including the removal of the title Chief Operating Officer and what it looks like moving forward. The next one is very similar to the previous one, and this is so that we can align the $100,000 amount. In the packet, it is a green highlight on CV. It says $50,000, and if that's what the board wants to do, that's fine. We just want to make sure that either it's noted publicly or we align it with CH. So CH, CV, CVA, CVB, and then subsequently we'll do CVB regulation again to line up everything, and all of those are related to each other. So again, we will remove the appropriate persons and replace it with your recommendations or whoever you decide, and that will be complete as of tonight, considering that everybody's in agreement with it.
Do we need to? Do we need to discuss that right now, or?
We can if you would like. It is an agenda item. It's an action item.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea for us to have those, anything that has to do with the forensic audit and policy, to have those in action items as opposed to consent, so that we're all aware of what we're doing with that one. Would you like to discuss it now, or do you want to wait until?
We'll just wait.
I'm sorry?
I would say wait so we can focus on the report.
Okay. So on the next one, we have recommendation number 12, and this is regarding purchases over $250,000 with federal funds. And it says that we recommend the district solicit quotes and bids through a formal competitive bidding process when possible. So when possible is a little subjective, and I want to note that this is currently part of the purchasing manual and the federal programs manual as per Edgar. And it does specifically state how and when and where we have to go out for bids, go out for quotes. We have to do an independent estimate. We have to do all of those things ahead of time. So there are different variables for different scenarios. but I do have Purchasing Director, Ms. Gabby Garcia, as well as Dr. Starkey, who are more than happy to answer questions on what we are currently doing if you have any questions at this time. If not, then we will move on to Forensic Audit Recommendation number 13 with Dr. Gonzalez and her team.
Good evening, President Nájera, board members, and Mr. Vasquez. I'm Lynette Vidales. I'm a director in Human Resources for Secondary Staffing. And so I'm going to be going over the recommendation made to conduct a climate study across the districts, across campuses and departments. And this was to address the concern that was brought up or brought to the forensic auditor's attention, concerns that had been raised by employees. They did have, it was based off of, their perceptions of favoritism, fear of retaliation. Mr. Krasner did make a note that it was anecdotal, so it wasn't anything that was collected through data or anything like that, but based on that anecdotal evidence, those perceptions were there, and so the recommendation was for us to conduct a survey. So the action, did I already move? Oops, I forgot the slide, sorry. Okay. So then the action is that a climate survey across the campuses and departments, we will go ahead and conduct that. And then based on the results, we would have appropriate corrective action that we would implement moving forward. We would want to see what that data told us so that we would know how to approach it moving forward. Our timeline is in May. We would use a third party to send those results out so that they could be collected anonymously. Okay, and then again, this would be ongoing because once we collected that data, we would have to analyze it and find areas where we could address concerns. Do you have any questions?
Yes, for this, the other thing that I heard was that there was a regulation that was updated that removed the authority of Human Resources to investigate allegations that were made by individuals that had concerns. Is that being looked at?
Yes, Ms. Macias, we already present that regulation in cabinet, also in the HR board committee, and an attempt on policy. But Ms. Nájera asked us to bring it back again just for other reasons. But we just need to present it again on policy, and it's going to be ready.
And the reason I mentioned is that could be a corrective action that shows what administration is doing to possibly remedy a concern that was raised in the audit.
It's going to help a lot, HR, to continue doing our job. Thank you. Any other question? Okay. The next one is the number 14, and it's also for HR, and Ms. Herrera is going to present that one.
Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Angelica Herrera, Director of Human Resources, and I will be presenting on the forensic recommendation on DC regulation, which is related to the campus and department interviews, and that's the categories that are listed on the regulation that state who can sit on this on the interview committees for campuses and departments. And so, and the corrective action on it was that it said members of the campus improvement team, and then the same bullet said 1 or 2 parents, so that has been corrected already under on DC regulation. It has been presented at cabinet, it has been presented at HR board committee and policy committee, and tomorrow is our last presentation with leadership, and then that would be complete. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
The next two, 15 and 16, is about records retention practices. And for this one, we have Mr. Rellinger presenting.
Good evening, Board President Mr. Nájera, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez, and members of the board. My name is Mr. Thomas Rellinger. I'll be the HR Director of Employee Relations. I'll be speaking about the retention of records practices. As the auditor has mentioned and shared in their findings, the district has initiated significant progress improvements since 2022 concerning records retention practices. The external auditor recommends that the district continue to monitor progress of records retention practices and alignments with best practices for a district of our size. Our action plan for this item will be to retain the current retention of records company that the board approved on March 21st, 2023, that started working with Socorro Independent School District to automate and digitize the record management processes and continue to monitor progress of records, retention management, and alignment district-wide. Approximately $160,000 will be needed to allocated annually for this project, and the funds are separate than the department's regular budget. Our timeline will be annual, and the completion is going to be ongoing. Any questions with that one? For the next item, again, the external auditor mentioned and shared in their findings that they recommend administration provide updates at least annually to the board concerning active and inactive records being maintained by the district, as well as information related to documents destroyed during the fiscal year. Our action plan for this item is to retain the current retention of records company that the board approved on March 21st, 2023, that started working with SSG to provide updates annually. At the beginning of each school year, we will provide updates to the board concerning active and inactive records being maintained by the district, as well as information related to the documents destroyed during the fiscal year. Are there any questions? The next item is over board governance.
For item number 17, the board has a team operating procedures which provides comprehensive guidance concerning duties, responsibilities, and requirements of the board members and the superintendent. The forensic audit recommendation was that we consider an annual acknowledgement by board members to adhere to the guidelines included in the team operating procedures. This is something that we'll adopt going forward. And it will coincide with the announcement, since the recommendation is annually, it will coincide with the announcement of our credit hours. Of course, this year, as the recommendation has just been made, we will complete that acknowledgement going forward. So between this board meeting and the next board meeting, we'll make a copy of the operating procedures available, either electronically or in print, accompanied by an acknowledgement that will be required to sign, submit, and then it will be maintained. Questions?
Just recommendation that we post that forward-facing to the public. Anything that we sign, that way it's not lost or there's perceptions, it's available to the public moving forward.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Mr. Nahid.
Yes, ma'am.
Our team operating procedure has not been reviewed as long as I've been here for quite some time. Can we have an action item on our next board agenda? So if anything needs to be updated or changed as part of our team operating procedures?
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So we should then maybe update the action plan to reflect those items? Okay. Number 18 then.
Good evening, Board President Mr. Nakara, board members, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. The category that I'm going to go over is number 18. It just says general. And the two recommendations are, due to the size of the district, consider adding resources to the audit department, and also consider outsourcing the fraud, waste, abuse hotline to be administrated by a third-party company. Action plans, or what we're considering is kind of And out of order. Down in the bottom is, we'll provide the board with information on internal audit departments of districts our size for, to look at. And also on that third-party administrators, we'll get quotes for evaluation just to see what the cost is to have a third-party administrator, the fraud hotline. We did look at a company, neighboring school district, and they're paying $10,000 a year for it. Any questions? Thank you.
What kind of,
Yes.
when you say adding resources, what kind of resources is that looking like?
I thought he's saying adding more auditors. That's what I think he's saying. But I didn't, I just saw the results of the audit, but I think that's what he's saying. Okay, we can follow up on him to see if that's what he's asking.
If I recall correctly, on that last board meeting, when he gave the results of the audit, it sounded like he was adding more auditors based on the district our size.
Thank you. I don't know if I introduced myself. I think I might have forgotten. Jose San Miguel, internal auditor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. San Miguel.
Good evening, President Nájera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez, Carlos Guerra, Assistant Superintendent of High Schools. I am here actually to address one of two items in regarding the TA investigations.
Michael, real quick, sorry to interrupt. I was taking notes before you started asking questions, and I had put them aside, but I just have like 4 questions. Reference the forensic audit. We can cover that real quick, and then we can jump into the TEA.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay, it'll be brief. This is in reference to the compensation plan. You said you were going to have total amount available at the beginning of the school year?
Can you tell me the number of the recommendation?
Number 2.
Okay, and the number 2, yes, for this one, the action plan is, well, we're already doing it because every time we need to do an update in the compensation plan because a salary is added or a stipend is added, we have been always bringing to the board. At least since I came aboard, we have been doing that. So the recommendation is that they recommending to propose pay grade adjustments and propose revision to the list of stipends to be redlined in the annual presentation of the compensation plan to ensure that the board is aware. So we have been doing that every time, not just annually. Like if in a regular board meeting, we have an item because someone is requesting a stipend or a change in salaries, we bring it to the board.
But you were talking about the total amount, something to have available, with the number of stipends handed out.
Right.
So is that number 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So we will be providing a list of the number of stipends that are being paid by stipend. And I believe, Mr. Nájera, you requested also by employee, how many stipends employees are receiving. So we'll do both, but again, it will be for the previous school year.
Yes, and I was just saying that if we can have, I'm just asking if we can have something when the budget is presented, at the time of budget, because it's what, April, well, actually it should be coming out now, right, the budget?
So
we can have something available for the budget so we can know where we are at and what we need for the upcoming year. You know, I don't think there's too many stipends left in the year.
Right, so I do know that Ms. Olson provides a list of the current stipends that we pay. The only thing that's not included is the stipends that are paid in May. And that's where it gets a little bit difficult to provide that to you for the budget because we're barely receiving that information from the campuses of who will be receiving it. So we may not have that. That's why for me, it's easier to give it to you at the beginning of the year for what occurred last year. But we can do our best to try to give you total.
Yeah, even if we miss the May budget, it would provide some information for the overall budget for the district.
Okay.
And
then May, well, we'll get that historical and use that as an average.
We can make notes and present what you need for that, what is coming,
Mhm.
and then a projection of possible stipends for May based on last year. We can do that, those notes for you.
Okay.
Can we not just use a rolling 12 months? So since we haven't, especially for the budgeting process, and maybe Ms. Perez and Dr. Gonzalez, since May will not be available, we would use May from the previous year
Yes.
and then up through April from the current year.
Yes, and that's what I explained, Mr. Castellano, we can make that note, that is just a projection just for the month of May, because it's until we start the school year is when the principals start letting us know who's gonna get what stipend, that the ones that are paid on May.
It just makes the information available for the budget.
Of course.
Yes.
Just making sure you're gonna provide a projected one and then one for the previous year.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, this is the same one. Oh, this has to do with the fundraising. It would be slide 5.
Yes, Jose San Miguel, Interim Auditor.
Yes, when I looked at the fundraising accounts for the schools, it listed by the teacher. It doesn't list it by the fundraising event.
I know I think Finance gave you a report, right? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember what they sent, but the report has the fundraising number, and it has...
I'm sorry, and it was also mentioned in the audit that, yes, it was hard to track the fundraising because it was by teacher and not by event or fundraising account.
I thought he meant because I looked at his presentation, he looked at over 500,000 transactions. I don't know if they looked at all of them, but they analyzed 500,000 transactions. And what he was saying was the purpose wasn't consistent. So that's why I'm saying we're going to add the fundraising number and the activity. For example, you can have fundraising number 1, activity, chocolate sales. Fundraising number 25, activity could have been we're raising money for field trips. So that's going to simplify that. You're going to know you're going to tie the fundraiser to the deposit and tie the fundraiser to the expense when the bill is paid. And on the report you had, it does have the sponsor. It has, like I say, it has the fundraising number, the vendor, and then it has the activity. Or it has the
I
club.
didn't see the activity. I know it
It has
said the
club.
teacher had the...
It has the club, and then the product, and then the activity. It might have a different title. I can't remember exactly what it has. And after that, it has the sponsor's name.
And the other thing I asked for in that information is because a percentage of all fundraising goes into this teacher fund. It varies from 20% to as much as 70%. And that's not out there. It's not transparent. So the parents can see, hey, I raised this money, but only 30% went to the student. I think that needs to be explained to the parent or the students who are participating in that fundraising event.
Mm-hmm. I did go today. I presented at when I went to school, and I went over fundraising with them. We do have administrative regulation FJ.
Mm-hmm.
FJ says clubs do not, any money earned by a club is not subject to the money going to the teacher's account. So the only money going to the teacher account is fundraisers by the school-wide fundraiser and teacher fundraisers. So if a teacher account has a fundraiser, then 70% will go to fund balance. If fund balance has a fundraiser, then 30% will go to teachers. So either way, it goes back and forth.
Yes, and I think that just needs to be.
But it's only a
the
school,
dollar amount needs
it's
to be
a school-wide fundraiser.
Yes.
A club is selling.
Yeah, I just saw that in some of the fundraising where it says 80% here, 20% teacher fund, but it didn't give the dollar amount of that fundraiser.
The dollar amount will be the actual end of the activity. So if you're selling chocolates or having a concession stand, when you finish your activity, if you raise $500 but your expense was $200, your profit's $300.
Yeah, it's not.
And then you divide that percent out.
Yeah, well, it's not illustrated or documented in the document. That's what I asked for.
It should be at the end. Once you get past the sponsor name, you have deposits, expenses, profit earned, and then the percent.
The percentage by fundraiser?
Yep, the percent profit
overall,
earned.
not by fundraiser.
Percent profit earned.
Yes, but I asked for more clarification on that.
It should be on that report.
It was not on the report, so.
Yeah, I have to see it, but.
And I have to send another request in clarifying that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get that information.
If you want the whole report again, I'll go ahead and send it to you again, or I guess we'll send it to you again.
Go ahead.
But
Claudia had the information that I was requesting, I sent her an email requesting that information, and I haven't got it yet, so.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I haven't.
You haven't received the report yet?
Well, the first one, but when I asked for clarification on the percentage going into the teacher fund, I did not receive that.
Yeah,
So
it was sent by finance.
I haven't received it, so, yeah, just if you can send it on a Friday packet or.
But if we know what you're looking for, we can send it to you, because it's all there. We have,
Well, she has the information, she'll tell you.
automated fundraising system. I can just tell real fast what the approval process is. Sponsor enters the fundraising application. Once the sponsor fills out all the information, presses enter, it goes to the student principal, or it goes to the principal. But if it's a high school, it goes to the student activities coordinator. They approve it, and it goes to the principal. Then it goes to finance, and then it goes to assistant superintendent. And then if it's approved, all of them approve it, they get a notice saying your application was approved, you can start your fundraiser. And it has a start and end date. So they have to recap by that end date.
Mr. Castellano, what we can do, we can get with Claudia and review your request and make sure you get the information you requested.
Yes, it's.
We'll make sure you
Yeah, I
receive
did
that.
clarify it with her.
Yeah.
and, make sure I get the information.
Yeah, we can definitely get that for you,
Thank you.
sir. You're welcome.
Question.
Oh.
Refresh my memory. When you give us the reports, does it show the deduction and what the deduction was for? Whatever the
percent
fundraising. Yeah, whenever they raise the money, but then obviously comes down because they're using it for whatever function or whatever. But do you ever give us the amount that it was deducted and for what it was?
What they bought? You're saying what they purchased?
Yeah, whatever they purchased or whatever services they expense.
The control there is when they do the fundraising, it says purpose of fundraiser. So the sponsor is responsible for spending the money on that purpose. So if I say I'm raising money to go on a field trip, they spend the money on that field trip. Let's say they raise $1,000, but the field trip is only $900. The rest can be used on something else. Usually most sponsors will put 2 or 3 things, but the first one will be the main activity, and then the others will be if anything's left over. But I do tell the sponsors, if you raise $1,000, spend at least 90% on it. Don't spend 10% because that's what you told the parents when you did the fundraiser. That's what you told the kids. So you want to fill out that, you want to complete that objective.
I just want to make sure that we're tracking the remainder, and if it's getting moved somewhere else, that we're still tracking that, and it's not being utilized for something else that maybe somebody else decides to want to use.
For clubs, it's not being moved. It stays in the club. So student council, all money they raise stays in their account. Band, all money they raise stays in their account.
But there's still a way that we can still track what's not being used, right?
There's transfers and adjustments. So part of my audit, when I go to the schools, I look at the transfers and adjustments, and I go over them with the principal. Some I know easily wrong entry, so I know that's legitimate. But if something I have questions on, I'll tell them, hey, I see this entry. Because you really won't see entries going from a club to another club or a club going to fund balance, because all the money belongs to them.
But you don't provide all that detailed information, correct? When you send it to us?
On the audit reports, not that much on transfers. I just put on there, it's been reviewed, the transfer section.
Is there a way that you can provide us that information from now on?
I can run the report and just attach a copy of the report of all transfers for that club. I mean, for the whole school, for the whole year. So when I look at a school, I'm looking from July 1st to now. So I will run a report of all transactions from July 1st to now.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
A couple of more questions, I guess, for Mr. Vasquez. This is it, the recommendations for the forensic audit, correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I did not see any recommendations or actions by the district in regards to audit number 1, the bond. The bond recommendations that was released in December of last year. I didn't. There was a list of 8 recommendations that were in the Weaver report, but I didn't see any recommendations transferred into this external audit action plan. So this
that was probably an oversight on our part, Mr. Castellano, because we were very specific. At least I think I made the motion, and I thought I was very specific, mentioning the forensic audit number 2, since that was the one that was presented, but not intentional at all, just an oversight.
And I think I made a motion back then too on that one to accept the recommendations, but you said, no, we can't, we can review them. And that's what we move forward with in that board meeting, but I don't see them here, so that.
Okay, so maybe we can bring it back to the very next either special or regular board meeting to aggregate that to the action plan, because we can't do it right now.
Yeah, I know that, but, so it's incomplete right now, this report. Also, several significant allegations were brought up in the two of the bond reports. Is the district taking any recommendation actions on those?
We'll start looking at the recommendations that you just mentioned, review those items that you mentioned, the 8, and we can also include an action plan to address any actions so that we would need to take moving forward with that.
So no action has been taken, referring to outside law enforcement agencies or of that such on any of these allegations that were brought up in the Weaver report?
No, sir, not as of yet.
Okay. Those allegations, do they require notification to TEA? Do we have to self-report that?
That's another thing we'll need to look into. We were focusing just strictly on the second audit that came out, not necessarily on the first one, but that's something we can begin addressing to include a comprehensive corrective action plan, including follow-up that you're recommending right now.
Okay. So the December one, nothing's been forwarded to TEA at this time, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anything in here that ensures we follow up and we ensure that whatever changes we make continue? What is the benchmarks that we go through to ensure that each of these items we do meet, that we do say, okay, we achieved this, and it's going into the TEA report. And when you read the initial part of it, it talks back in 2011, 2013 actually, with the Pam Padilla report, and what it identified back then, failure of following the policies and procedures. Then we jump forward to 2014, and it continues. TEA found the SID administrators staff failed to demonstrate sound adherence and lack of consistency in implementing and monitoring the revised policies and procedures. We go to 2015, and it continues again. There's 5 items listed in the TEA report where we are consistently not following through with the policies and the procedures. And then we jump to 2019, and now we have a high school graduate scandal. But all this time, it just shows constant failure to follow through with whatever adaptations and changes that were made in the past. And are we going to fall again through this? We're like, well, we don't care because 6 years down the line, somebody's going to, we'll worry about it then, I won't be here, I'll be retired. How do we ensure that this stuff doesn't happen again? This stuff doesn't happen again? What is the check and balance that's being placed?
A lot of these...
Mr. Castellanos, lots of things have changed since then. For one, we've got a complete department now that has been added to make sure that we're compliant with our high school graduation requirements and LOC. Since that time, we've also added a curriculum auditor also. So previously, we just had a financial auditor. So those are some changes that have occurred. I don't think anybody can guarantee perfection. What we can guarantee is vigilance. And we can guarantee that we audit, and we can guarantee that we do self-report, and that when we identify an instance, that we evaluate the policy and the system, and then initiate action to move forward. But I mean, I hope what you're not asking for is perfection.
We've done a big disservice to the children, and we can't make excuses. It has to stop. And we have to do more than just say, oh, okay, well, we did it now. You guys been in the business for 60 years, and we're still, patching holes. I wasn't on the board when a lot of this stuff went down, and it still continued. In the first month we got elected, we met with Marta Carmona, and she had the stack that was of information that was supposed to go to TEA, and she told us, yes, there are concerns of more graduates in that pile. And that was in 21. See, it continued. And how do we stop that? And it's just we got this committee, that committee. I think it just takes more oversight on the board and then the superintendent to take action, to move forward and say, you know what, people need to be held accountable. We're gonna discuss the TEA allegations in here, and it's, I started looking at some of the records, and I went through the, what do they call them, AARs? The academic achievement records that were submitted, that had false information to TEA. Submitting information to PEEMS to the TEA is actually a violation of the Texas Penal Code, the tampering with the government record. And it's actually serious because they created their own paragraph to ensure that we do not do this. They made it a third-degree felony to do this and these records. And I pulled up 3 records, and if these are felony offenses, here's one of the persons that signed it. Whose name is on that? There's 2 more in there, and they're still employees. 2 of them are in cabinet. There's 2 more in there. One's still the principal over there at El Dorado. And they signed these documents. It's her signatures on these documents. Montwood High School, Pebble Hills High School, Eastlake, they all represent. They were all there, Americas. These are felony offenses, and we just, I know this action plan for the TEA audit doesn't mention it, anything presenting these to a law enforcement agency. I don't know, did the TEA outsource it or refer it to a law enforcement agency? I don't think so, because they wanted to resolve these issues. And we asked, no, we need to fully investigate it. We needed the final report. We need to hold people accountable. You guys see the other 2 names on it?
Mr. Castellano, I agree. I think when I see number 19 and 20, there was more in that TE audit that we're not discussing that should be up on here. And it was just, like he's referencing the policies that were supposed to be implemented since 2013, but we're still not discussing, hey, this is what has happened since 2013. Yeah, you described that, Mr. Nakara. There was the academic internal audit, or there's been other things that have been put in place, but what other implementations have been put since 2013? But none of that is being described. There's still, 2019 would have never happened if since 2013 everything was put in place like it should have been. So I want to see all that information from back in 2013 to prevent another 2019 from happening. And I want to see what still hasn't been filled so that we can fill it now, so that we don't have an issue with these kids again. I've been overseas into the Middle East, and there's no reason why here in the U.S. these kids are denied, or they fall through the cracks. Over there was intentional, where kids, women, girls were not allowed to be educated, and I took that personally. And that's why I'm going to continue to fight for the kids, to make sure that we don't fall through the cracks. Yeah, perfection may be hard, but there's nothing wrong with getting to 99.9% success rate. I would want 100%, but that's just me as an individual. So, Mr. Castellano, I do agree with you. Perfection is hard, but it is possible. It's just, are we going to come together as a team to achieve that or not?
This is just 3 of the graduates' academic records. There's still another 273 that I did not bring up here to go through. And, Mr. Guerra, there was multiple from Montwood High School, Ms. Parham, there was multiple from Pebble Hills. They're there. And these are criminal offenses. You want to submit it to PEEMS, and you have your signature on it. I know there's other people involved that built the record for you. And I think accountability is number 1, and that's, Mr. Vasquez, you want to, earn your wings here. Here they are. We have to take action. These kids that came before us today do not deserve this. What message are we going to send to them to say, it's okay to violate the law and look the other way as long as your friends will cover for you. No, we need to set the standard, you know, and it's going to be hard, it's going to hurt, but it has to be set.
Mr. Nájera, if I may. Just looking at this, the one thing that as a board with our governance, what we could do is we could ask on a yearly basis to receive an update on the corrective action plan. And that way we're assuring that it's not, you know, perception is that things are forgotten. No, but systems are set. And if we have to update systems or administration does, then you're consistently sharing and you're regaining the trust in our community that things are being implemented and we're doing the best for our students at all times. That would be my recommendation with our oversight guidance that we have.
Yes, ma'am. One of the things we're discussing is that once we complete these, some of these activities have already been completed, but as we complete them, we'll bring them to the board to provide an update. But thereafter, on a yearly basis, we can review this.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to jump ahead to the stipends. I don't need to discuss Mr. Guetta's case here. That's between him and that's his issue. But the stipends, yes, you covered the stipends, but then when it came down to what occurred at Bill Seibert, there was no addressing that where the teachers double dipped and.
Okay, so this is a TA finds allegation number 3, and they saying that between 16 and 2022, the allegation is that Socorro paid 246 stipends in the amount of $283,000 of unauthorized stipends. I want to clarify that and take this opportunity to put it on record. The Department of Human Resources did not get an opportunity to contest the TA allegation number 3. In response to this allegation that unauthorized stipends were paid in the amount of $283,000, that is unsubstantiated. That is false. Actually, the forensic audit, as you already know, they identified that there was a misalignment between payroll and compensation on the naming and the title convention for the stipends. Also, the compensation plan prior to 2022 was in regulation DEA. I came to work here in 2022. This district had the compensation plan in regulation. So the cabinet and administrators had that freedom to make decisions on the compensation plan. I removed it from the regulation when I came on board because I wanted the board to make those decisions and approve the stipends and compensation. Regulations do not require, at that time, regulations do not require board approval, and still, till now. So as of later 2022, as I mentioned, the compensation plan in whole is presented to the board during board meetings when updates occur. So we already audited, we already fixed that. It was just a matter of titles on the payment, and I want to share that we, HR department, learned about this because of media. We didn't even know about this issue about the stipends. But I want to say it in public that it's unsubstantiated. Like it's false, it never happened. It was just a misalignment of titles. So questions on this?
Yes. The district acknowledged that this occurred and did not argue. They acknowledged that the stipends were paid out inappropriately and did not argue it. So anything after this,
We didn't get the chance to respond, sir.
Because it was in regulation, the board could not approve it. These stipends were being paid out without board approval. These stipends were being paid, this is public funds being given out with any board approval.
Sir, I was not working.
I know, and you don't need to argue it. It happened. It happened. This is what was going on. The stipends were being created by cabinet and just being paid out with any authority by the board. That's what happened. If it's in regulation, we can't vote for it. So this was being created by cabinet. And in fact, there was a compensation manual. Tells you, yeah, send your stipend that you want, send it to cabinet, we'll approve it, and that's it. Never mentioned taking it before the board and putting it in the annual compensation plan for approval.
Mr. Nájera, can I clarify something that related to that, please? So I researched on this, and my directors shared that the stipends were always shared during the board committee meetings. So board members were always listening about those stipends. And the compensation plan was always approved at least once per year during the budget presentation with Mr. Reza, including the compensation plan. So technically, yes, they were in regulation, but the board was also approving that in an annual budget workshop. It was transparent. The directors were always presenting the stipends on those board committee meetings. The board members were aware of that. But because of that, like when I came, I changed that just to be more direct. So it's not that they were just writing stipends as they wanted and not to be transparent with the board.
They were. You weren't there when the meeting took place, September of 2021. It's on YouTube. People can look. I brought it up. Mr. Nájera said, it's in regulation. We can't discuss it. And this was a September one. There was 16 stipends in that package.
We already checked that date, sir, that September 21, it was one stipend.
No,
that
it wasn't.
actually-
There was other changes in the stipends, and it involved ESSER funding. And I didn't touch that. It was like this, this was ESSER funds that we were giving out without any board approval.
I'm just presenting what I researched.
You
on this
weren't here.
topic.
And then in October, we only approved one, but there was other stipends that were never brought before the annual compensation plan to update it. We did it in June of 22, and that's when we started doing it legally.
Mr. Castellano, what's the recommendation coming from you then? Because
We need to,
I mean,
in
Dr.
fact, even
Gonzalez
speaking
has-
to,
Mr. Castellano.
and I'll tell you right now, speaking to Rebecca Cleveland, and when she reviewed it, and she said, yes, we need to approve it, but once it's approved, the board must take action on the money paid out. You just can't let them keep the money. I reported that to Dr. Carmen. I sent him an email, and then he forwarded to you, and you sent it back saying all the stipends are fine.
Yes, sir. Since
But they
I
weren't.
came
We
on
needed
board,
to make
all the
corrective
stipends-
action.
All the stipends have been approved by the board since I came on board. And
Since you came on board, but we're talking before. And that's why I don't know why you're arguing it. District said, we did it. District said, yeah, we screwed the students over on their graduations. They didn't argue it. You know, I don't know what you're arguing. The action plan is we need to let the taxpayers know how much we actually paid out with these stipends. You know, it's their money, it's their district, and we're just over here disregarding their concerns. And I'm here, I was elected by them, I work for them, and I have to answer to them. And you still need to address the stipends that were taking place at Bill Cyber where they were double dipping. Was any action taken on these employees? And as well as the graduates?
Yes, sir.
Was any action taken?
It was an investigation done on that, and we took action on that.
Did they pay back the stipends?
I don't recall. But that's a personnel matter that because it's an investigation.
We cannot talk in public on that, sir.
Was anything addressed to SBEC on their actions?
We cannot talk in public
Was
on
anything, but when you put it all together and you can give it to the board, I'm just asking the questions. Was anything taken against the administration? Who allowed this to happen? And they only did 1 year, but we never went back. How many years did this occur? It wasn't the first time that it happened. It was the first time they got caught. That's how I see it. You know, I've been in law enforcement long enough, so, but nobody went back to look at the other reports.
A quick question, just for clarity. And that is correct, that on TEA it states that administration accepted their findings and didn't have any rebuttal. But what I'm hearing is that Human Resources that oversees the stipends never got an opportunity to research or to find a solution for what was being asked.
That's correct. In fact, I saw the results of the audit when they came out in the media.
So who would make that decision in your opinion? I don't know if you all know that. Is that the office of the superintendent that just made a blanket response that we accept, but there was no research done or no ability to rebut?
Normally, the TA investigations is the superintendent and the board president that receive those letters from TA. I don't know, we don't know, as we have been mentioned, we HR department never receive that. We have received others on special ed, and we work in collaboration with the department and help them to respond to TA and clarify things. If we were receive this one, we will clarify everything with TA, and I think that we would never be in the media about this topic. But we were never had the opportunity, we didn't even know that that was an allegation. And it was just a matter of titles on payroll and compensation. But I don't have the answer because we never received the report.
Can we receive clarification from TEA on this?
If you don't respond, they assume that it was wrong. So you need to respond with clarification or with a corrective action plan, or yes, it happened, not it happened. If it happened, please, we're gonna do this to fix it, or clarify if it never happened. So then they respond, okay, it's accepted, or a case closed, or something. But we don't respond, they assume that it happened.
Well, the response has to have been given when this investigation took place, prior to you getting here. So the information was given to TEA for them to make this determination that it was wrong, it's illegal. Whether it's a different title or whatever, that title was never approved, no matter which title you go to. It doesn't matter. So that's the argument probably they're making here. But it's in the addendums. We'll just look them up and see what was presented. But the act, we owe it to the taxpayers to give them full, complete understanding of what occurred. Also, none of these, the only report that's on the website is the first Weaver report. Are the other two going to be listed in there, as well as the TA investigation?
Yes, sir. All of those will be posted on that accountability site. Yes.
Okay, can we let them know when? I know there's media watching here.
The first Weaver report, we took formal action and accepted it. We received the draft, and then after Mr. Kastner presented the report, he then issued the final report. So we still have to formally accept the report and publish it. So very next board meeting, we can do that.
DEA's been final and accepted. We can post that.
Absolutely. And
The
TA report was published before I ever saw it. I don't know how that was published, but it only went to the superintendent and myself, to my knowledge, and that was made public. I didn't have it yet, so. But yes, that's the TA report can be made available.
Are the addendums in the exhibits public information on the TA report? Everything? Okay, so that's several thousand documents, but it all needs to be posted up there, let the public review. And that's been approved already to be posted?
Yeah, that's TEA. Once they issued it, it's done.
When can we expect that?
By week's end, Danny?
Okay.
Can we still go through 19? I still want to hear his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. Once again, I'm Carlos Guerra, Assistant Superintendent of High Schools. I'm here to go over the TA allegation regarding the 2019 graduation. In regards to the action plans that have taken place since the findings that were reported through TEA. We had on the 2019-2022 year, we actually had a correction action plan that was completed at the end of the school year. In addition to that, there was a graduation task force that went on from 2020 to 2022. We added a brand new department of attendance to which included additional personnel, which now has the director of attendance, loss of credit coordinator, loss of credit clerk, and in addition to that, we added an extra counselor at each one of our campuses. We revised FSC local and we revised policies EI local for credit validation, and EIF regulation for graduation requirements. We also included trainings, the trainings for each one of our high school counselors, middle school counselors, campus administration, our diagnosticians, and our LOC clerks. We conduct regular reviews through our counselors to audit their own alphas. Peer audits do take place. Each counselor trades audit cards and transcripts with each of the counselors. And after the audits, we of course have discussions in regards to systems and the findings, of course, throughout the school year. We also have district audits that take place. Approximately 30% of each campus is audited to determine practices and procedures that, in order for us to continue training and on practices and revising our systems. We have our academic compliance officers that complete this audit. Our timeline, of course, like I mentioned right before, we did have our corrective action plan that was completed at the end of the 2019-20 school year, and our process has continued to be ongoing since the findings were published up to today. We do function under a continuous improvement process. Completion, like I mentioned, we'll not only have the CAP, but we also continue monitoring our LOC procedures, our graduation requirements, to include meetings that happen throughout this week, tomorrow in leadership, and next week we will be meeting with our high school counseling team. Any questions, concerns?
Just as stated earlier, Mr. Guerra, if you guys can add some of those other details, like Mr. Castellano was saying about like policies and stuff, and just give us, the next time you guys give us an update just on what was done from 2013 till now, and what's still left, so that we don't miss anything. And maybe even in that process, if you guys come up with something that maybe needs to be added just for extra security, then add it, if you guys deem necessary. But I just want to make sure we go far back, because it seems like it's been a problem since then.
Yes, sir, and we continue monitoring. We definitely will look into what systems have been put in place since 2013. And for the record, our goal is to have 100% of our kids graduate all the time, and to make sure that we provide every single one opportunity, not only to our students, but to our staff, to be effectively trained to not make those mistakes again.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Any more questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Continuing then with 8C, Strategic Plan Priority 3, Community Collaboration and Engagement. Mr. Escobar.
Yes, thank you. Good evening again, President Nájera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez, Daniel Escobar, Chief Communications Officer. To give you a quick update on priority number 3, which is community collaboration and engagement. More specifically, we're going to be looking at 3.3, which is marketing. We will be looking at 3.3A and 3.3B. Beginning with 3.3B, maximize social media engagement, and then 3.3A, grow advertising programs to support student and employee recruitment and retention efforts. We are on 3 social media platforms. Our largest following is on X, formerly Twitter. We have over 23,000 followers on that platform. The most engaged posts that we have, what we tend to see is announcements regarding the school schedule. This one that's displayed here has to be, or is regarding the January weather days, and this was just saying that we're on a normal schedule. Then on Facebook, we have 23,000 followers on Facebook. Again, celebration of teachers is another item or another thing that has high engagement. And then celebration and student activities. On Instagram, we have 10.4 thousand followers. Proud of these numbers, and also what it's showing with a highly engaged post. Things such as the weather delays, weather announcements, shows that our community is coming to us for information, using us as a source for key updates regarding the activities of the school district. And then again, just the high engagement, of celebrating our teachers, celebrating our students, again, shows that our community is receiving that information, receiving and appreciative of that information, of the good things that are happening amongst our teachers and staff. And then the other item for a quick update is our advertising outreach. It's timely now. We've just launched our spring and summer advertising. We have advertisements on television. We have digital billboards. We have other digital outreach that is on personnel devices. Sometimes the TV commercials come up on there, or some of the print advertisements comes on there. Campus banners promoting registration, social media advertising, our district digital displays, which are available or here in front of our building, and then also on the Ed Center. And then some location advertising as well, displays. We're at the airport, we're at the zoo, we're at locomotive soccer matches. Something new is we're doing some direct email blasts, not only to those individuals that we have direct contact with, existing parents, but using some of our media partners to identify other parents that may not have their children in our school and may live near our boundaries, engaging them in information regarding our school district, and then direct mail pieces. We have 2 direct mail pieces that goes out annually. It's one piece done twice. It's our At Socorro newsletter. It's done in the summer as well as in the winter. And so just wanted to share the commercial that we have currently running. Again, all of these pieces, from the TV commercial to the digital designs to mailers, et cetera, is done 100% in-house by our creative team. So this is...
Pre-K to 12th grade registration is now open for new and returning students. Team SISD's pre-K programs offer engaging hands-on learning for young students to build a solid foundation in their academic journey. Join our top academic academies, award-winning fine arts programs, championship athletics, and career and technical education with highly qualified teachers. Register at sisd.net/enrollment and seize your opportunity in Team SISD. De Socorro para prekinder a último año. El equipo SISD ofrece un aprendizaje práctico e innovador donde sus pequeños estudiantes crezcan en su trayectoria académica. Únase a nuestras academias académicas de primer nivel, programas deportivos, bellas artes y educación profesional y técnica. Regístrese en línea y aprovecha tu oportunidad en el equipo SISD.
So these advertisements are running currently. The video advertisements are on all of our local TV station as well as online and social media. We plan to update it to congratulations of our graduates late May, early June. And then over the summer, we'll go back and start utilizing the great commercial that was that included Andrea, the student that was recognized earlier today from Mission Early College High School, as well as some more specific advertisement for our academies and possibly dual language program as well. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, just constructive feedback.
Please.
April 1st is always come and register, come and enroll, and we were a little bit behind. I'm sure there was a reason, but just let's hit April 1st. That way you're naturally competing, but we're out there right off the bat. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Escobar.
Thank you.
Right. Moving on then with the consent agenda.
Yes, items F1, H2.
$92. 92. 9J2.
A motion?
Motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of items E2, F1, H2, and J2.
I second.
A motion made by Mrs. Nájera, seconded by Ms. Macias. Any further discussion?
Discussion, real quick. Where's Ms. Pettis?
You want to just exclude the item for now?
Well, I just had a question about the contract extensions and the other contracts in the consent agenda. The contracts are set amounts. Has any adjustments been made to these contracts because of the budget deficit and any budget cuts that we're going to take? I don't know. I've been asking this since December when we got the financial audit. What steps are we taking to cut budgets here and there, or are we only going to cut teacher salaries and benefits?
Okay, so board president, board members, acting superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. So at the time of the extensions, when we're looking at extending, we do review the amounts with the departments. In purchasing, we don't allocate those funds. All that we do is review past expenditures, past recommendations. So for some of these extensions, sirs, to answer some of your questions, we are recommending a decreased amount to what we recommended in previous years. So we are looking at those costs.
And what is the decrease amount that we're looking at?
So just to give you an example of one that we are decreasing, the staffing services, that one we are reducing the amount. In last year, we recommended $8 million, and this year we are recommending 5.2, I believe. I need to look that up in my book. So we are looking at the amounts that we are recommending to the board. Like I said, we have these discussions with the departments. We look at past expenditures to come up with amounts that we recommend to the board.
When are we going to have a budget? When are we going to present the budget to the board?
I believe the next budget meeting, if we can all participate, is going to be on the 23rd.
Till then to approve anything. Go ahead, you guys made your motion.
And just for clarification, because there's a lot of fear and angst, there are currently no recommendations to cut teacher salaries or to cut benefits. All right. Discussion. I have a motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
All right, item passes. E2, no.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Barrera.
I notice on here everything is 1 year. Why is this one 2 years?
So when that bid was issued, it was issued for 2 years with the option to extend for 2-year extensions, so 2 terms of 2 years.
For two?
For two 2-year extensions.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
When I looked at it previously, my understanding it was pretty. I think it was 7 or 7.5 million for 4 years originally. Is that correct?
No, sir. So the amount is annual. So we present annual costs to the board.
So over the next 2 years, this will actually be for 14.
Yes, sir. So it's annual.
Why wasn't that listed here? At 14 million. Total cost.
Well, we're saying 7 million per year.
Also, looking at that contract, we had a list of contract extensions that were signed without the board approval going back from 21 to 22. It was 7.2 million and 500,000. District instructional curriculum Al Garcia signed both of those, but it says see attachment, see attachment. Are these contracts
Mr.
related to that
Castellano,
one?
That's not on the agenda.
No, I'm trying to see if that's related to what was here.
Okay,
That's
so-
what I'm asking, because if it's the same contract, were they renewed? I don't know, it just,
So as of that, we are bringing all extensions to the board. So all of our bid extensions at the renewal term, we are bringing those to the board for your consideration and approval.
yeah, is this an extension of that from 21, 22? That's what I'm asking, because it didn't list on the report where it just says see attachment. And I was asking if it's the same
Well, this
extension.
bid was awarded May 17, 2022. And so we're bringing the extension in preparation of that extension that's coming up.
I guess the question that is on the table is why 2 years and not the one?
This is a large bid, so it just depends on the bid, Ms. Macias. So some are for 1 year, and then we bring them back annually, but this is the way that it was written.
Oh, it's written this way.
Into the bid, yes.
Okay.
And so sometimes that's because, like I said, I think this has a lot of vendors on there, so just to do the extension process, I don't see, it's good practice to do this. So in other words, it's not out of character to do a 2 year with 2 year, 2 terms.
Thank you for the clarification.
So there was like 100, if I'm not mistaken, I think I counted like 112 vendors, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there.
Yes, it's a lot of vendors to support the academics.
Okay, and I guess just to answer Mr. Castellanos' question, is what he's referring to, is that the same thing or is that something different? And I understand you gave the date, which was 2022, but I guess just so that we have that clarity, is it the same or?
I would have to look into that, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an overlap. I saw this and it was 2 years. I want to see if it.
No, that's the way that it was written into the bid. So
Yeah,
then
but
we
I'm
follow.
looking at the other contract from 22.
I would have to look at it. So you mean the bid before this one? Is that?
Yeah, is this just a continuation of that?
No, so this
Or
is
this
a
is a
new
new
bid.
contract?
This is a new bid that was awarded May 2022. So I can look into the bid that was in place before this and provide information.
Could you do
Yeah,
that?
I can do that,
I'd like
sir.
to have that information. The dollar amount rang a bell. I looked back at the report and I saw the number and I was needing some clarification on that.
Yeah, I can look into that and provide information in the Friday packet.
Okay.
So previously, the amount was for 7.5 million, right? The original bid?
I would have to look at that.
Okay.
And that's $7 million per year, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And also, if you can clarify, that one that was signed back in 21, 22 by Al Garcia, was that then 14.4 million? Can you clarify that information?
I can clarify like the amount that was.
If it was 2 years?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
That's all the questions for me.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Mrs. Macias, seconded by Mrs. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain till we get the information.
Item passes. Item F1, Special Education Professional Specialist. I think this is Ms. Macias.
Yes, for F1, what caught my attention, it's over 100% increase. And I know that as a board, we've been asking for that comprehensive special education plan. So I know we sound like, broken records. But this just shows me that we're truly using all these services because there's something not in place possibly, and I don't want to misspeak, but I just want to give you all the opportunity as administration to bring us a comprehensive plan, and that's F1 and H2. If you notice, I pulled both of them because that goes back to when I came on the board till now, there's still those concerns that keep looming, and I personally haven't received a clear plan of what we're gonna do to move forward.
Good evening, President Nahera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Mr. Vasquez. I'm Analia Jansen, Director of Special Education. And you are correct, this is not part of the action plan with the staffing. What it has to do is contracted services are hired by the special ed department to provide services where we have vacancies or members of our staff go on FMLA, which is something that is not always can be predicted. One thing that's impacting us right now and the need for an additional funds for these areas are the vacancies that we currently have in very high demand areas, which is your 7 vacancies in speech and language pathology. An average salary there is about $73,000. So that alone costs would be a salary of $514,000 with $766. School psychologists, we have 4 vacancies. The average salary is of $90,065, which would give us a total of about $360,000 and $260,000. And then diagnosticians, we have 3 vacancies, which equal to 238. Their average salary is $79,382. And when you add all that up, the cost for those salaries would be a total of $1.72 million. And so in order to continue to meet our deadlines, in order to provide the services to our students, we've had to use our contracted services more.
Thank you. I just wanted to go on record that we still would like that comprehensive plan as we move forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Ms. Macias, is that just one, or did you want to do both?
They're both together. That's F1 and H2. Thank you, sir.
We have a motion to approve F1 and
H2.
H2 made by Mrs. Macias. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Castellano. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Moving on then to J2, DGBA Local. Mr. Barrera.
So we're just adding a step 4 now instead of, or level 4 grievance instead of level 3 where it topped out?
No, we've always had, Socorro's always had the 4-step process. At the level 1, level 2, and a level 3 with the independent hearing officer. The board is actually step 4. So I'm just aligning the wording to acknowledge the fact that we are on a 4-step process.
Okay, because when it was revised back in 23, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
I guess my question, how come it wasn't cut then?
I can't answer that question at this time, but I can tell you after advisement in reference to adding the wording to allow the special board meetings for grievances to be heard by the board when the board requested this change to have grievances come to the board. We are having some difficulty with some people's schedules to accommodate that one day, which is within the policy stating the next regular board meeting. So we just aligned it to the special board meetings, but then when I was reviewing it, I wanted to make sure that we did acknowledge the fact that we have a 4-step process and not a 3.
Okay, so this is still going to be a friendly process for either employees or for parents or students that want to file a grievance, right? We're not making it more
Absolutely.
complicated.
No difficulties whatsoever. The same process is in place. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Actually, Mr. Barrera, we're making it more accommodating because I believe we're adding the wording, Mr. Redlinger, that it does not have to be at a regular board meeting, but
Yes,
rather we can make it at a special board meeting because the current wording is such that it happens at a regular board meeting and it typically happens at the end at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So we're trying to make it more accessible. We're trying to make it more fair. We're trying to make it to where we can have a board meeting, a special board meeting, and the hearing before the board is at, 5:30, 6, rather than at the end of a regular board meeting.
Correct. I just wanted that clarification. This way the public's aware of it that, we're not trying to undermine them, or we're being more friendly with them. Like I said, whether it's employees, students, or parents that need to file a grievance, and we're trying to be accommodating. So thank you. Motion to approve 9J2.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Mr. Barrera, seconded by Ms. Macias. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you. Moving on to new business then. Consider approval of additional teacher and administration employment contracts for the 2024-2025 school year. Dr. Gonzalez.
Good evening, Board President, Mr. Nájera, Acting Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez, and members of the Board. Administration is requesting approval of additional and administration employment contracts for the 24-25 school year. This recommendation, consideration, and approval is for additional contract recommendations for teachers, librarians, nurses, counselors, speech therapists, education diagnosticians, and additional administration contracts. This information has been verified by the Department of Human Resources and was presented to you in your packet. Administration recommends consideration and approval of the item as presented.
So moved.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Guerra, seconded by Ms. Macias. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. 10B, consider approval of final deductive, thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. 10B, consider approval of final deductive change order and final contract payment for auxiliary gym improvements, package 2.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Nájera, members of the board, Acting Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez, Liliana Fierro, Director of Facilities and Construction. So the original contract sum was $595,000. The deductive change order is $76,262.5. Final contract sum $518,737.5, and the final payment is $29,487.5. Administration recommends that the Board of Trustees accept the final contract and final payment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Ms. Macias, seconded by Ms. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you, Ms. Fierro.
Thank you.
10C, consider approval of final contract payment for the installation of new water coolers at various district facilities. Ms. Perez.
Yes, sir. Members of the board, President Nájera, Acting Superintendent, Mr. Vasquez. This evening, we would like to present the final contract sum of $375,585.75, which equals out the original contract sum and the final payment of $34,739.29. We ask that the board consider this project complete for final payment. Any questions?
Could you repeat that final payment again? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yes, ma'am. The amount is $34,739.29. That is our final payment amount left on the project.
And the reason I'm asking is I'm looking at page 277. It says final payment, auxiliary gym upgrades package 2. I'm looking at the wrong one, right?
Yes, ma'am. This one's on 280.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Motion to approve.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Mrs. Macias, seconded by Mrs. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. 10D, consider approval of Crown Castle agreement to amend lease. Ms. Perez.
Yes, sir. We have 3 contracts that are coming up with Crown Castle, and these are cell towers. And so the terms of the agreements are for 5 years, which ends, the date on that first one is December 14th, 2054. The rent increased to $1,500 a month, revenue share of $250 on future subtenants, and one $10,000 sign-on bonus. And this is the same for the next 3, with the exception of the dates. We also have they have a right of refusal on the limited to the leased area. And information for Crown Castle and the lease amendments are in the following pages. These are standard with our cell tower leases.
Just a quick question, you said rent increased to 1,500, what was it previously?
That's a great question, ma'am. I don't recall that number off the top of my head. Let me see if it's part of the contract.
And this is 1,500 pretty much standard? What, I'm sure there's other entities that rent out.
I'd like to defer to Ms. Thomas. Do you know? Quite honestly, these are leases that have been in place, and they're just continuations of them. Mr. Blanco, sir?
And do you know what the increase, because it says rent increase to 1,500, so before it was 1,000, it was 1,250.
I'd have to look at the original contract from 5 years ago, ma'am, but I can get that information for you.
Mr. Mahia. Yeah. Ms. Perez?
Yes, ma'am.
I can remember in the past this board having an objection to a long lease.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is, yeah, we never liked that because we're stuck in at the rent increase. And in the past, this board's never agreed with a very long lease.
We had previously, and I don't recall if it was Crown Castle, but I know AT&T and Verizon for sure had at one point 15 and 20-year leases. Probably 5 years ago, we got away from that. And we told them we weren't going to extend them for those periods of time anymore. They always ask for that, but they're now, and this is the first Crown Castle update that I've seen. A 5-year term is pretty short for them. They want them to be much longer because you're talking about assets that they come and install for cell tower usage. So a 5-year extension to 2029 is really pretty short. It's not considered long-term to them. It might be to us. If you wanted to be shorter, we could go back.
Mr. Blanco, so what you're saying is that the term is 5 years.
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, it's 25 years.
Ms. Pettis just pointed out that this is one of the 20-year term leases.
25.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the terms of the financial information is for the 5 years.
Yeah, the rent escalation is limited to the 5-year period.
So
And
every
it'll go
5
up
years,
again.
we could, I'm sorry. So for my clarification, every 5 years, we could technically renegotiate with them to increase.
The rental amount.
Okay.
Some of the agreements, now we'll have to pull the original agreement because some of them have escalator clauses in them to increase at a percentage every year. And I don't know if this increase to 1,500, because we don't have the base agreement, is based on an escalator clause, like 10% or 15% or 20%, or if it's a number that was negotiated. We'd have to pull that lease to determine that. If you're not comfortable approving it without that information, I understand that. We can table it and bring it back in another meeting and give you the full details on the lease.
Would it be possible, I'm sorry, can it be possible, I know we have more cell towers throughout the district. Can we find out how many cell towers we have total and what are we charging those companies? Because, and I would like to find out too, what was our price before we increased it to 1,500 because cell towers make a lot of money. Maybe we can ask more than $1,500 a month.
Yes, we can include that in the analysis so we can review it again.
I make a motion to table this motion until our next regular board meeting.
Second.
It is.
Motion to table, to postpone the item to the next regular board meeting made by Mrs. Nájera, seconded by Ms. Macias. Discussion. I do, Mr. Blanco. I just also want to point out that the contract does include right of first refusal. So if we were to receive a higher offer from another organization, from another company, with higher rent, then, and it's a documented offer, then we would just have to provide that offer to, I forgot the name. Yeah.
Yeah, Castle.
To them, and then they have, I think it's 60 days to be able to evaluate that offer and get the first right of refusal, which means they would match it. If they don't match it, then we're able to opt out and accept the new offer, correct?
I don't see the 60-day term. I'm looking in the first right of refusal. Give me a second here. 60 days, you're correct.
It's only
Yes.
on the first two, though. The third
It's-
one does not have a right of refusal on that. There are 3 contracts.
So then that means that the third one, we would be able to terminate at any time.
Yes, so the third of the series of contracts does not include a term for right of first refusal. That's correct.
Okay.
But it does have a lease life to 2055, so we need to look at that.
Yeah, okay. Again, motion, any further discussion? All those in favor to postpone the item to the next regular board meeting, which is in May?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item passes to postpone to the next regular board meeting. All right. 10E, discussion and possible action regarding request for additional funds from the fund balance to cover the cost of the forensic audit with Weaver and Tidwell. Ms. Bettis.
Yes, sir. So the original amount that was approved was $467,500. That was approved for the total amount for Weaver and Tidwell. We are requesting additional funds in the amount of $22,000 so that we can complete the payments for Weaver and Tidwell, and that'll close it out for a total of $489,337.25. Quite honestly, I can pay for this within our current budget. We don't have to do a budget amendment, but I do need to acknowledge that it is over the amount that was originally accepted by the board.
Could you teach me why?
Excuse, what?
Yeah, why is it over what we, did they not give us a contract that said this is the amount, you know, these are the things we're gonna audit and this is the amount?
They did, and it also states that it's an estimate, and if there are additional scopes or additional investigation, it will take a little bit more man hours, and it does list the hour rate for which person would be doing that work. So if you'd like, we can also send you some detailed reports on the billing if you'd like. But we can pay up to the $467,500 as of right now. We don't have authority from the board to pay over that amount as of right now.
Approve.
Second. Motion to approve made by Ms. Macias, seconded by Mr. Castellano. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you, Ms. Perez.
Yes, sir.
And the next one, still you. Discussion and possible action regarding revisions to the following local policies. It's CV local, CVA local, and CVB local.
Yes, sir. So on your packet, you do have those 3 local policies, and if you'd like, we can go through them one at a time. We have highlighted the areas that either need to be discussed or considered so that we can align them across the entire policy.
These were the 3 policies that, Ms. Perez, if I may.
Yes, sir.
These were the 3 policies where the superintendent, that they were updated to make the superintendent the head of the purchasing committee, which there's a recommendation.
Administrative review.
Oh, administrative review committee, that's right, thank you. Of course, it is one of the audit recommendations to make that change. One thing for us to consider is that prior to that change, it was the chief operating officer where that role does no longer exists. So we can't just return it to what it was before. I think all of us would agree that it should not be the superintendent. However, the highest equivalent position within that department now is the director. So I'm not sure if anyone has different offering for what the title should be for these 3 policies, or if everyone is satisfied that it should return to the same area and the highest level position within that area, which would be the director of facilities.
Okay. So for CV, CVA, and CVB local, Anything that's stated Chief Operating Officer will go to Facilities Director.
Make a motion to approve.
Hold on.
Second.
Motion to approve the change to the 3 policies to Director of Facilities, made by Mr. Guerra, seconded by Mrs. Nájera. Any further discussion?
Discussion, yes, ma'am. Ms. Pettis, was there another?
Yes, ma'am. On one of the other recommendations, it also states, on the recommendation from the forensic auditor, it states that the $50,000 amount that is on CV local does not align with CH, CVA, and CVB. Now, if we want to keep it 50,000, that is totally at the discretion of the board, but if we wanted to align it, it would have to be $100,000. And again, that would be completely at your discretion. And I do have a couple of other areas in the policies that need to be discussed.
I do have a motion. Mr. Guerra, do you want to rescind your motion?
Can we
Well-
take those motions separate, Mr. Blanco?
Okay, so first change then, because more changes are outstanding.
Yes.
Any further discussion? And that is to update the policies to reflect the title of Facilities Director.
Or F1?
For all 3 of them, because the changes will apply to all 3 policies. They all align. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That change passes. The next one, Ms. Bettis?
The $50,000, would you like to keep it at that amount, or would you prefer it to be aligned with CH at $100,000?
Ms. Pettis, that's on which policy?
That's on CV local, sir, on the construction contract section. It's the second paragraph, excuse me.
So anything 50,000 and above for construction requires board approval. Anything not construction is $100,000 and above.
Correct. And we're okay with. Yep.
So there's 2 items. So in CV local, the $50,000 threshold is for the delivery method.
It's for what? I'm sorry?
The delivery method. So the board has the authority to select the delivery method for the project, whether it's going to be a CMR at risk or it's going to be a job order contract, whichever process you're going to pick. The $100,000 threshold is for the resulting contract. So you have a gap, and I think that's the question. Do you want to align those two to be the same? So it's $50,000 comes to the board chooses the delivery method. The administration recommends it, and you guys say yes or no. The resulting contract then, right now there's a gap, because if it is less than $100,000, it technically does not have to come back to the board to approve the award to the vendor. That was the issue that was highlighted in the Weaver report. So do you want that $100,000 threshold to be the same as the 50, or do you want the $50,000 threshold to be the same as the 100? So either lower one or raise one.
Considering, my opinion, considering the recommendation that we had from the auditor and the fact that we need to improve oversight, I would suggest alignment between the 2 at 50,000.
I agree.
Do I have a motion?
So, Ms. Pettis has a very good point. We'll have to bring CH to you as well, because that is at $100,000. We want to lower those. And I'm gonna say something. Y'all, I don't think we have to decide this tonight. There is an administrative cost associated with lowering these numbers. You're going to see a lot more contracts. So boards in El Paso and across the state are going to have different thresholds for this. You'll generally see smaller districts with much lower numbers. I'd bet El Paso's at 100. I believe Salada's at 100. They're They vary. Larger districts tend to have higher thresholds, you have more staff, and you don't want to have dozens of contracts regularly coming to every single board meeting, but that's up to you all to decide how you want to handle that. If you do lower it, it will result in more work for you all.
I think the only other thing that I would be comfortable with, Mr. Blanco, is if we were to align those two at 100,000, then to ensure that somehow, if the aggregate, sums to 100,000, then that it gets brought to us, because otherwise, it gives the ability to spend $500,000, 20,000 at a time.
Yeah, that's a good point. The policy's not clear on that, but frankly, that is the law. If you're you can't do serial purchases with one vendor to avoid a policy. So you can't, what you just suggested, say I'm gonna give 4 $75,000 contracts to Mr. Escobar's firm. You're just sitting there, no, no offense. To avoid that, you're not supposed to do that. It shouldn't be done. But you could actually add that language in there to say this applies to aggregate contracts as well.
That's the law, though.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just say I think we have to demonstrate to the taxpayer that we have to be vigilant, and I think the $50,000 threshold would satisfy that for now. We can address it later if we have to raise it, but I think the extra work put on by administration to ensure that we don't get caught again in this trap, we need to show our due diligence here. I would recommend the 50,000.
Let's build that trust.
Mr. Blanco, and I know years ago we had increased it, Mr. Reza came out to us, we increased it to 100,000 because I believe the discussion was we have more items coming to the board and it was going to set back some contracts. Is that correct, or?
It's timing and administration of those contracts. It is more work for your administration to bring those contracts regularly. Your agenda will be a little bit longer, and you'll have to address more items. So I do remember when it was increased, but it's completely within the board's power to determine what that threshold should be. If you reduce it in CV to 50, then we should adjust CH and align those policies too.
So do we table this item to bring CH back, or we could make a motion?
No, we can make it later. We can bring CH back next time around to align it. Do I have a motion?
Motion to bring the part where it says for construction contracts valued at or above 100,000, bring it down to 50,000 to align with the paragraph as stated before, but also to bring policy CH forward in the next board meeting.
Okay.
So that they match.
Motion made by Mr. Barrera, seconded by Mr. Castellano. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item passes. All right. Thank you, Ms. Perez.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to executive session. The meeting is be closed for discussion and legal counsel regarding complaint procedures and investigation under policies DIA and DGBA related to consolidation grievance filed by Dr. N. Carmen, to consider administrative recommendation for assistant principal position at America's High School under Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. The time is 9:16, and it is Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. We're back from executive session. The time is 9:44. It is still Wednesday, April 17th, 2024, and we have a quorum. Continue with new business. 12A, discussion and possible action to address complaint procedures and investigation under policies DIA and DGBA and to appoint third-party investigator. Blanco.
Thank you, Board President Nahara, members of the board, and Mr. Vasquez. I gave you an update and we discussed the legal issues in the process under your policies, DIA and DGBA. Dr. Carmen did file a complaint and a grievance under those policies as a consolidated matter. There is a necessity that that be reviewed, that an investigation be conducted, and that a report be prepared. It's my recommendation that you engage under policy DIA a third party, and the policy specifically says that it can be a lawyer, and I recommend that it be a lawyer, somebody who's not affiliated with the district, doesn't work for the district, and our recommendation is that you select Robert Blumenfeld of Mendel, Blumenfeld, and Pulido, PLLC, to serve as the investigator to review the consolidated DIA complaint and DGBA complaint filed by Mr. Carmen, and to make an appropriate report to the board at the conclusion of that investigation.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve made by Mr. Aguirre, seconded by Mrs. Nájera. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The item passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blanco. 12B, consider approval of administrative recommendations. Number 1, Assistant Principal at Americas High School, Mr. Vasquez.
President Nájera, members of the board, administration recommends Joy S. Woodard to assume the role and responsibilities as the new assistant principal of Americas High School.
Approve.
I second.
Motion to approve made by Mr. Guerra, seconded by Mrs. Macias. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the item passes. Congratulations, Ms. Woodard. There being no further business before this board, we are adjourning. The time is 9:46. The date is April 17th, 2024.